that how hard that was the week before at Phoenix, and he, I mean, yeah, he was super optimistic right before practice started, but you see he is gassed right there getting out of the car. And one of the things that you just can't, you know, it's hard to explain to people is how much load your body goes through inside of the car. And man, you get those seat belts pulled really tight, and then, you know, they've talked about him having pneumonia. I mean, I've raced with the flu, I've raced sick, but I've never had pneumonia, and I know that's got to be one of the hardest things you can do is to let someone else get in your car. Kim, do you have more on Josh?
Yeah, down here just watching what Ty's doing in the car. So Ty Dillon, you guys mentioned second on the board. He's going to practice and qualify the car. Josh has every intention of taking the green flag, starting the race. Right now, Ty giving feedback saying it's loose in and loose off, more loose in condition than that off condition. Also needs more turn. So Parker, I want to know, like, if you're Ty and you're feeding information and it's going to be a completely different driver in the race, how do you balance that as a team, knowing what Josh is going to need in the car when it's a completely different driver behind the wheel currently as you're working through things the car is going to need this afternoon?
It's a great question, Kim, and as someone who had to set up race cars for Brad Keselowski for years and Sam Hornish and AJ Allmendinger at times, I can tell you it's really tough. You've got to try and sort of separate yourself from what you would like and what you prefer in a race car and think, hey, what does that driver want? What do I know about that driver and how they drive and that sort of thing? Obviously, there's some, you know, common things a race car will do. You'll just say, hey, this is a problem. He's going to fight no matter who's in it. But I think at times you definitely have to sort of be cognizant of the fact that it's not for you, it's for someone else. And I just like to, you know, go further down that path of what you're saying, Jamie, like the belts being tight and that sort of thing. The other thing that in a race car, no matter what you do, your heart rate is going to be high. Your adrenaline is high. You're in a fight or flight mode at all times in a race car because your body and your mind are telling you, why am I going so fast towards this wall? What is that? Why are all these cars around me? And that makes it incredibly hard to breathe. And even when you feel your best, you're always, you know, at times when your heart rate's super high, grasping for air and needing more air. So I just can't imagine what he's going through, but hopefully, you know, Josh is able to recover quickly here.
I'd be selfish. I'd set it up for me if I was Ty. I know I got a pretty good chance of probably getting back in this based on what's happened in the last couple of weeks. So I think I'd do it. It's right for me.
Let's ride around this place. William Sawalich, we're on board here. This is our Toyota onboard camera.
Yeah, and the one thing that I always watch when I watch the cameras here is he's getting ready to come in the pits, but you can see the seams on the racetrack as he comes across, and those are just like the lines on a highway. You use those as a reference point, and you hear guys say the first lane, second lane, third lane. The spotters often reference the seam marks, and that's just, you know, where you want to put your left side tires. It gives you a good reference around the track. Obviously, if you're Larson and you run right against the wall, you don't care where the seams are. You're doing everything on the right hand side.
Well, there is a bunch of basically filler on the racetrack in 3 and 4, which really affected the top last year. And you kind of see it right there as we're watching Jeremy Clements here. There's sort of like those black squiggle marks on the track. That's where they're sort of patching the track a little bit. And down in 3 and 4, there's a lot of those that make it almost like a high frequency bump on the top side, and it sort of hurt the high side a little bit, which has allowed the bottom to come in. The other thing you want to pay attention to at this racetrack is you can see areas in the pavement where it's less used. And it's really amazing. You'll see lighter patches of asphalt versus darker patches as this track has aged. And those are great markers as to say, hey, where do I want to be on the racetrack? You'll see it in 1 and 2. Drivers will diamond the track at times, and they're literally searching for that lighter asphalt, which means it's maybe been less used than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and shade. That's the other thing is if you look at 3 and 4 right now, as the 42 is going to get down into 3 and 4, you'll see the shade up against the wall, and God, it is incredible how much more grip the track has if you can find where it's got a little bit of shade you see going down the backstretch. You know, as the race starts later today, turns 1 and 2 will continue to get more and more in the shade, but you see right here, there's about a half a lane, 3/4 of a lane, and boy, if you can get your tires in that, it just seems to generate a lot more grip.
42, Anthony Alfredo, currently 3rd on the board behind Kyle Larson and Ty Dillon. 5 minutes into this opening group of practice here in Miami. NASCAR Xfinity Series at the Homestead Miami Speedway. We're watching Kyle Larson. 17 is fast, and he's finding out just how close you can get to the wall. And a couple of times already in practice, we've seen that little kiss.
Yeah, the one big difference, though, between these cars and if you watch the truck race last night is the bodies pushed back out. They're a composite body. You see he's going to get into that.
It's a little harder.
As long as you don't bend the suspension, you're okay. Parker, as I watch this, I just always wonder if people at home can appreciate it as much as you and I can, how he does that just lap after lap.
It's so hard to describe the level of precision and discipline you have to have, and the level of risk you're willing to take to put the car that close to the wall lap after lap as the tires fall away. You're constantly having to adjust your speed at the entry point, but stay committed, and you have to adjust your speed every single corner because these tires fall off in a way that they just continually lose that grip. And the way he just can stay so committed to the wall and do it lap after lap so perfectly is just, it's a talent, that's just so incredible to watch.
We've been on the air almost 15 minutes. We've spent a lot of time talking about Kyle Larson. It turns out the competition is talking about Kyle Larson. Here's Dylan.
Yeah, it's been funny listening to the radios. You see Connor Zilic here. There's some good radio on the 88 about what they are observing from the 17 right now.
And then he moved at that top seam both ends, and this lap right here is his first one against the fence, but he's right against it.
Yeah, he's getting smoked on lap time. Yeah, the 17 is going to be an issue today. He's hauling ass.
10-4. He went up there, never fell off at all, right?
Oh, it's stupid.
So they did just come back in the pits. They were going to try to make a 25-lap run there. Adam Wall, the crew chief, came on and said, if everything feels good, it looks good on our end, so stay out here for at least 25. And then I think they just aborted here because he did get into the fence. But Kyle didn't say anything on the radio about the race car, and the lap times continue to just be better than everybody else's, even on that long run. So 17 certainly feeling pretty good.
19 laps so far. Dylan mentioned the fact they wanted to do a 25-lap run. I just love Marty Lindley on the radio. a lot of people can deliver that line. It's way more impactful coming from him.
I love that.
You know, and the thing that's so incredible about this track is that there's so much fall off, and you heard them reference it. They're like, it's not even close how much faster he is. And if you watched the truck race last night, with 10 to go, he was 3/4 of a second a lap faster than what the leaders were running. So you can be 4 or 5 seconds behind. It does not take long at all to catch up to them. And listen, that has just been Kyle Larson as long as we've been coming to Homestead.
And I find there's two theories to practicing here with the wall. What you're seeing Jeb Burton do right now, he leads about a half a car to the wall. That's a little bit of being, protective of that race car right now. What you saw Larson do, actually get in the wall. There's some who say when you show up here, commit to the wall early in practice and figure it out. Others who think, I'm going to use that in the race, right? I'm going to work my way up there. I'm going to feel the car out. I'm not going to put it in a bad position in practice. And therefore, once I get in the race, there'll be my time to use that wall and really, put myself in a place of risk to actually get into the wall. I've always kind of been either or. Depends how I show up, Jamie, that morning. And I'm like, how committed am I?
That's
I
right.
think I got it right now?
Yeah, the difference, though, in lap time from a half a car length to being on the wall is mega.
Oh,
it's not
ginormous.
Yeah, I mean, like I just feel like you almost have to commit to that. It depends on the position you're in. I think coming here earlier in the year changes that a little bit. If you come here and it's a playoff race and you're racing for points, as you see right here, the 4-car Parker Retzloff, he's trying to run the wall, but visually the speed's just not there. You can see him kind of gradually working his way up, and what makes it so hard is that you have to enter, and he's done a great job right there. You have to enter right against it. You can't enter a car length low and then slide up to it or you'll hit the wall, and that's what makes it so hard. And as you get down into turn 1, the wall kind of jogs out. So visually, as you see what Parker can see right there, it's just, you're like, why are we doing this? Like how does Kyle do that every single lap and able to pull it off?
Larson might be the driver of the weekend, but Retzloff might have the paint scheme of the weekend. The sponsor here, Prime Bites Protein Mini Muffins. Caesar Baccarella, who's the co-owner of this team, that's his company. He and Tommy Joe Martins work together to put 3 cars on the track each week, and I love what they've done with it. You'll see it coming for sure.
Yeah, it looks great. I love it.
Parker 12th here a couple of years ago. And here's Myatt Snyder making his first start, 2025. He ran full-time for a few years. Last couple of years has only made a handful of starts, but his only career win came right here 4 4 seasons ago when he was driving for Richard Childress Racing. What a great moment it was, a wonderful Saturday night.
Massive moment for him to win at this racetrack. You know, riding for RCR back then, you knew how good Reddick was in those cars here, but for Mike Snyder to show up and win at Homestead, this is just such a cool place to win because as a driver, you feel like you make a huge difference. All the things we're talking about, running the wall and managing tires and using different lanes, you just feel like there's only so much your team can do for you, where then eventually you've got to put that car on your back and you've got to make it work for you. And when you can win here, it's such a powerful feeling.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how hard it is for Maya to not be in a car every single weekend and jump back in and not just come to a racetrack. And I know he's won here before, but it is just, we're going to talk about it all day today. It's one of the toughest racetracks on the schedule.
Maya, one of 5 drivers entered who has a win at the Homestead Miami Speedway, 18th in practice. This is what we're talking about. If you're going to win here, you got to live on the edge a little bit. We see it every time we come. Put it outside and ride the rim. Surface stuff.
What'd you have for
because
breakfast?
You know when you talk to him and you ask him how does he do it, he has no idea.
No,
he never knows. That's how good you know he's so good because he just when you ask him, you're like, hey man, how do you make speed? He goes, I don't know, just drive the car.
I think Kyle's sneaky. I think he knows, and I think he kind of plays that game a little bit. But I think he's a little bit sneakier than we want to give him credit for.
He is smarter than the average bear. By the way, he was talking to Corey Day, who will drive the 17 next week. All those Hendrick Cup drivers are going to get behind the wheel. But Day is going to run most of the races this year when the 17 shows up, and a lot of that's backloaded later in the season. Brennan Poole, good practice session in the 44. We saw the 4 out there. Here's his teammate up inside the top 10.
I feel like coming here, we heard everybody talk about that you didn't have to run the wall, and then Larson went out and was ridiculously fast against the wall, and now everybody's like, well,
did he suck him in a little
I guess we're going to go run the wall.
You know what another crew chief told me yesterday? They were talking about this, and he said, you know, the 17 will bait everyone to go to the
That's
wall.
what I was going to say.
And it's like, absolutely. I'll be interested when we get to the second group here. You get Austin Hill, who won it on the bottom. He was super fast on the bottom last year in the different lanes. If people make, you know, speed up there, but definitely in this first practice, everyone saw the 17 do that, and it was like, okay, I got to go there, I guess.
And I think it's fair to say that Corey Haim last night in the truck race did not run the wall, and he was almost as fast as Larson. It was comparable. So I don't know that you have to do it, but it sure is a good tool to have in your toolbox.
This is the Alpha Prime practice session. We had Parker Retzloff, we had Brennan Poole, now we get Brad Perez trying to make his first start of the year. Remember, he showed up, of course, at COTA and did not make the field. And a little tie into a local university, Florida International, on the car. It's all a part of a partnership with KSDT, a group that's sponsored Brad for a long time.
Brad's such a cool story. He works like 6 or 7 different jobs in the sport, from being a tire guy to a mechanic on this car when he's not driving it, to he does driving experiences down at COTA, and he does all these different things. He even works for one of those minor league baseball teams, helping the grass and that sort of thing. And then when he gets a chance to race, it's super cool. This is a brand new car for Alpha Prime, actually. It's a Ganassi chassis. Jamie, maybe you drove it?
I think I drove that car one time. Yeah, I think so.
It was way slower.
They need to tighten it up a little bit. It looks loose.
Dylan, what's up?
Well, we've caught up with Kyle Larson, who is observing the final couple minutes of this practice session. So we know you're doing triple duty this weekend, obviously. Xfinity car specific, what are the nuances of running the wall effectively in this car versus the other two?
I think it's a little more challenging, for sure. I just think you don't have the drag that you have in the truck or the cup car. So, like, the entry speed, to me, feels a lot faster and less stuck, you know? So, and when the sun's shining straight on the track, it makes it tough too. But I think I feel okay. I mean, it's hard to judge being in Group A, you know. So once there's some better cars and stuff's got the next round, you'll really get to see kind of where you stack up.
I know you never want to hit the wall, obviously, but is there something about doing that helps you find the limit or understand where it is?
Yeah, I think as long as you don't smash the wall in practice, it's good to graze it and yeah, kind of learn what that feels like, what it sounds like, kind of how close you actually are to it. So, yeah, it's just slick in practice, but yeah, we'll be fine.
All right, everybody chasing the 17 car here at Homestead.
And here's the deal, you know how competitive they are and how committed they are to doing this, because Chad Knaus is back there in the background right in the middle of it. That's a major statement on how committed Hendrick Motorsports is to this Xfinity program, and the results show it, right?
You know everything I said about heart rate? Just remove that from
Gone.
Kyle Larson.
Right.
I don't think it gets above 60.
Blaine Perkins, top 10 in the 31, driving for Jordan Anderson Racing.
Once again, where do we see them running at? I'm telling you, everybody they saw that lap time from Kyle, and you have to go out, because if you're going to hit the wall, let's do it now so we can get the car fixed, have time. You hit it in the race and tear it up, your day is over. So it's a great time, and I think that's one of the bigger challenges about the Xfinity series today is that limited amount of practice. You know, when you used to have a couple hours of practice and you had some time in between, it's hard now for these guys to go out in 25 minutes and figure it out.
Ryan Ellis with some Miami colors.
Yeah, I love that. That's great looking.
It's kind of the same scheme of that shirt you wore in this morning.
That's exactly the same designer, actually.
Yeah, Parker's had palm trees on it, I believe.
I think
Some
it
more
did.
palm trees.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Looks good, though.
Good margarita. Good to have. You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So
You ought to be really right by
That was a
NASCAR Countdown Live
36-51.
at 3:30 Eastern on
Perfect.
CW.
Just right.
Time is about to expire in practice, and
I like this little green flag pit stop for Williams Wallich coming in. Most likely we'll see that. We see a lot of green flag stops here. And it's a little bit tricky getting off of turn 4. There's a weird transition off the banking onto pit road. And, well, one of the guys we talked to, Kyle Larson, he knows that as well as anybody. He smoked those sand barrels a few years ago.
look left of the screen, you see the crack in that onboard camera. So let's see how that happened as we've wrapped Group 1 practice. Here it is off the corner, turn 4. Oh, bam! Lots of dust and debris here in Miami.
What about it, Parker? I would say the big surprise there is maybe who's on top, right?
Oh, man, it's shocking. Can't believe it.
Did not expect Kyle Larson to
Hey, but
top
Ty
the board.
Dillon hopping in that car, firing off in the top 2 right there.
right.
That's pretty impressive.
He'll qualify it, and then we anticipate, Josh Williams, that's the plan for him to get it in race. Josh Dillon with pneumonia will continue to update that story. And there's what happens when you get out there maybe just a little bit too far, but no harm, no foul, just a little bit of a repair being made here, and Kyle will be ready to go for qualifying in just a bit. Kim?
And Jeremy Clements with top 5 speed in that Group 1 of practice. Did your car have the versatility it needed to run all over the racetrack?
You know what? I think our all-South electric Chevy did. I was impressed by Case Collenbacher, our crew chief, and Chevy unloaded good. I drove kind of all over the track. This place it's going to get hot and slicker. We're going to have to be up there against the wall, and hopefully we don't do what the 17 did and all 200 laps make it work. But I'm excited to be here. Love racing here. Love the vibe. Love the weather. And if we can get our all-South electric Chevy as fast as XFINITY mode, will be good. And just thrilled to have a good car to actually race with. And I want to thank Chuck Kuhn for coming on board. This is a race we didn't have sold for our primary. So, Chuck, thank you guys, and looking forward to it today.
When you do find yourself up against the wall, what's the percentage of caution you have to use? Because like you mentioned, Larson got a little kiss of the wall versus commitment, caution versus commitment.
Yeah, I didn't even put it up there, to be honest, like right up against it like we're going to need to as the run goes on. But I've been here plenty enough to know how to do it. You got to have a free car to get up there and make it work. And I'll definitely go up there when it's time and see how it goes. But yeah, you got to be committed, and you got to put it in there, and hopefully it sticks.
Jeremy Clements happy with the speed his car has here this afternoon.
He does just kind of fit the Miami vibe, I think, Kim. Hey, we had the graphic in there.
It's the accent, I think, that goes with Miami. Yeah, I think it's it.
When he said hot and slicker, is that
I
what
think
gave
that
it
was
away?
the
He's kind of a
that had
Miami
South
guy.
Beach written all over it.
But today, it's going to be his 19th start here, matching Joe Nemechek for most starts all time, and we know a few weeks ago we celebrated the fact that he's made 500 all time in his career in an Xfinity car. Jeb Burton was good in that session, ended up 5th, and he took a page out of Larson's book. It's something about the 1.7 and the 2.7 just getting up there maybe just a little bit too close.
And what you would like is just the decal right there. That one looks good.
Perfect.
Just the decal, but the Goodyear still on the tire. When the Goodyear disappears off the tire and the wheel has wall paint stuck in it, not good.
Well, because you have to replace that crush panel, which the 17 is doing. And my theory on that, I don't know if Jamie didn't really agree with this, but I feel like you take away the integrity of that car if you hit it too hard in practice.
No, I didn't. No, what I thought was if we can fix it now, we can put enough tape on it that maybe it'll hold it all
Beef it
together
up more?
later
Yeah,
on.
okay.
Yeah.
Group 2 heading out. Most recent winner, Justin Allgaier, got his first victory at Las Vegas last week. First win there at the track, first win this season. And he's one of those 4 drivers going for the Dash for Cash. Going to be a big topic today. You don't have to win. Whoever finishes the best out of this group picks up an extra $100,000.
And as you see Justin going down the backstretch, it's just a decision every straightaway of, do I want to run the middle? Do I want to run the bottom? Do I want to run the top? You see he's going to run kind of this 3rd lane, like right sides on that seam through turns 3 and 4. That's really popular. It's hard to get a good exit off of 4 if you run the bottom, but it's less distance than running all the way against the wall.
And one thing that you'll do is that this first lap, you'll use like a qualifying lap. So you've got the tires, the best they'll be, so you want to run kind of the lane you think you'd run in qualifying, which predominantly can be bottom in 1 and 2 to middle to then that left side on that top seam that you mentioned in 3 and 4 for the last 2 years has been the place to qualify. And that's what I just saw Justin do. Basically try and run a lap you feel like mimics what you're going to see in qualifying and then go into your race runs. But when you have those new tires right off the bat, that's your closest thing you're going to have to qualifying.
And I'd be super surprised if we see many of these guys go quicker than what Larson did in the first session. Not just because it's Larson, but that first session just is going to have more grip. The track's a little bit cooler. No one's been on the track. There's more rubber laid down now. So I think it's going to be tough for any of these guys to go quicker. And that's like a calculation the teams have to make of, you know, what was our fast lap versus our fall off. And the fast lap's important, but most important here is to be good on the longer run.
And we do monitor who's in Group 1, who's in Group 2. When you look at where their running position is, we highlight in orange those drivers that are out in Group 2. So anyone highlighted in orange is active and out running now, and those guys that are not were in that Group 1, and that's what helps us differentiate what we're seeing from the 2 groups. Everybody gets 25 minutes, and then we'll load up and do 1 round of qualifying. And right now, the best of the bunch In Group 2, as you look at our bumper, is Ryan Sieg. He's been really good at this style of racing. The 1.5 miles, outstanding last week, had a good comeback at Las Vegas. And we look at Jesse Love, who's back there in the 20th position overall in the 2 car.
Ryan Sieg really turned it on since Phoenix when they put that got that backup car on the racetrack. Had a tremendous run there with that car. Obviously backed it up at Las Vegas. It's amazing what some momentum can do for you. And it just starts to click and move things forward. And even when you show up in practice and do what he just did, be the fastest in this group so far, that's just great momentum. It's great positivity, and there's so much that can happen when you have that going on with the race team and just creating that sort of positivity.
Danny Stockman making a little bit of a fashion statement with those glasses he's got on today. Adam, I saw you in those a few weeks ago. And not a big surprise to see the 2 car here running lower. His teammate Austin Hill, notorious for running lower on the racetrack. I remember even years ago when it was definitely top dominant. He won a truck race here and was running lower than anyone else. Definitely has a knack for that. And the setup is probably a little different for what you would want running right if you know you're going to run against the wall every lap versus running lower on the racetrack. Do you have more on that, Dylan?
Yeah, so I thought Danny Stockman actually paid Jesse a pretty good compliment yesterday when I was talking to him. He said, Jesse works as hard as me and challenges me in ways I don't know that I've ever been challenged before, which was pretty impressive considering who Danny has worked with through his years in NASCAR, not just in the Xfinity Series. But he made the comment, he said, Jesse texted me on Thursday night at like 9:30. I was already in bed. Jesse texts me and says, hey, I just want to make sure we have enough adjustability in the car that I can move to the top if I want to. He knew they were going to kind of be focused on the bottom, but Jesse was very aware and cognizant of making sure that they had enough in this race car that they could adjust it during the race tonight to move it around and get it better. So he was really impressed by that, just with Jesse's maturity for only his 2nd year in this series, and I think you'll see him move around in this practice as well, just to try to see what adjustability they do have in that 2 car.
It's a great point, Dylan, and actually just to add on to what you were saying, Jamie, about him going to the bottom, we saw that last year. Austin Hill drove by myself and Jesse, and we all saw him do it on the bottom, and then suddenly said, wait a second, that might work, and actually was able to make it work for most of the race last year. Also, just going to his work ethic, you know, been in competition meetings with Jesse and seeing sort of his notes and what his work ethic is. It goes as far as to, he'll bring up videos, replays from past races in our competition meetings to relate to what happened to him in that race. It's really incredible the amount of effort and his work ethic that he has around racing.
Yeah, we're going to need a ticker, I think, for stripes on the walls. You see, yeah, the 54 car, you see getting into the wall.
Well, that's hard.
That's riding the wall for a while. You don't mind brushing it, but when it kind of pulls you in. When you see him get into that, like, you can't get away from it.
When you get the right front like that, not good.
Yeah.
That's when you cut down a right front tire. I know this from experience.
Yeah, right. Everyone's experienced that at some point.
Did the exact same thing, and that will cut your right front tire. You want to brush it with the right rear, but not hard enough that it then knocks the right front of the wall. When you do that, that's when you have sort of a major issue and you cut a tire.
But Taylor stayed out and ran 4 or 5 more laps after that, so he didn't feel like he had gotten into the wall that hard.
You know, last week they had an equipment violation on their green flag pit stop in the final stage, then had a loose wheel. They went from running inside the top 10 to finishing outside the top 15, but they've had great speed each and every week, this rookie driver from New Mexico. And as we've talked about, and we said it last week, he's partnered with Jason Radcliffe, who's the greatest crew chief by the numbers in the history of the Xfinity Series. And Jason's won here twice with Kyle Busch, so maybe back to the drawing board just a little bit to make sure they get this thing where it needs to be. Down to Kim.
So we're going to talk to the tag team of Ty Dillon and Josh Williams. Ty, you practiced and will qualify the car. How was it?
Our fire-off speed was definitely decent, clean track. We got to work on our long-run speed. We got to be better, especially compared to the 17. But everybody, I think, feels that way right now. But we're not bad. We just got to keep working on it throughout the day.
And the intention is that, Josh, you will take the green and you're hoping to run all the laps. How do you take what Ty is telling you about the car and make it work for you in the race?
Yeah, you know, it's hopefully we're going to drive similar, right? That's going to be the dictator of all this. So I listened to what was going on and what changes they made. So we brought something similar to what we had last year, just made a few changes to it. So clearly it worked out good. The car's got speed, so hopefully I feel okay. I'd like to run the whole race, but really appreciate Ty for what he's doing for us, and everybody at Colleague being super supportive. So hopefully get a Starbright car up front. Have a good day.
What does this week look like for you just to get back in health?
It's super important. Got my wife and kid at home, and that means a lot to me, right? So if it was 20-year-old Josh, I'd just go for it and see what happens. But my health's super important, and everybody's been real supportive of it and been behind me trying to get better.
That's the number one thing. Just get healthy, and I love that he's doing this the right way and leaning on Ty Dillon.
Yeah, and we talked about Carson Kvapil, as you see right here, #1 car. Last weekend at Vegas, he didn't ask for any help from anyone. He went into that race kind of all on his own. He was so fast in practice and qualified on the front row. This weekend, though, is a little different animal, much different than Vegas, even though they're both 1.5 miles. We talk about it. I've watched him. He pulled out and kind of ran right against the wall. He's just out there trying to learn. And when you're in his position, you've never been here before, you've never experienced this before, you see super slow entering the corner to try to carry some more speed on exit. But Larson being my teammate all the years, I had a lot of data to look at. And the thing that always blew me away about him at these tracks is how fast he could enter the corner. He could commit to just driving in so much harder. What Carson's doing is what most people do. You enter a little bit slower and then throttle up on the exit. And it's going to be a big learning experience for this one car today.
Pretty solid rookie season, speed-wise. Just haven't gotten the finishes they deserve. We're rolling with practice. It's the NASCAR Xfinity Series, live in South Florida. Glad you're with us on the CW. In the top 12 right now, among them Sheldon Creed, who's 12th on the board. 0-0 for the Haas factory team. And we have a caution, and it's for the 10 of Daniel Dye, Florida's home.
Rear damage, we touched the wall and spun out.
Oh.
Yep.
The right rear into the wall.
We're here, 1 and 2.
Doesn't see any damage on that.
Yeah.
I almost thought he
Just a
spun
little.
out, leaving the pits there, it looked like.
Now you can see the grass coming across the track, so I'm going to surmise from that he was sideways in the corner and then just sort of long, lazy slide.
Hey, while we're waiting to find the replay in our bumper, all of the Dash for Cash drivers eligible today, highlighted in green. Those are the ones going for the $100,000. So make a mental note of that as we prepare for the race later today. And Jamie, do you know why we've highlighted them in green?
Because it's cash.
That's
Hell
right.
yeah.
That's right.
I have a question.
Cash
though.
money.
Yeah.
If you won $100,000 today, what would you do?
Is it tax-free?
Yeah, I'll give it to you tax-free.
Just total.
Yeah, just
so,
a $100,000 bonus for Adam Alexander. Is Audra and the kids getting a trip? Like, what are you doing? Are you
I
gonna
gotta be
selfish?
honest. There's like a nice pass-through plan
clubs?
we have at my house, where no matter where it comes in from, it just goes straight through to the other 3 people in the organization.
Not
That's
you.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Wait a second. We're not getting 100 grand?
No, I'm gonna give mine to Adam.
I'd buy lunch.
Yeah.
I would buy lunch for sure.
Oh.
Jamie doesn't need it.
I do need it. I have a kid that races. I need more money than anybody. All right, here we get a good view of this, and they, as they said, just kind of running the top. It's crazy that he was able to spin out from up there. Normally, when you get loose, you end up kind of correcting it, and then really end up getting into the wall.
So he spins it out, but no major damage. They'll button up the 10 car, send him back out, and we'll have it all for you when we come back to Miami. As we come back here to the Homestead Miami Speedway, we show you some video from earlier in the week. This was Thursday, not too far from right here at the racetrack. You can see the smoke from the brush fires that have happened here. It's been a huge news story. Everyone locally that's been involved in taking care of this very dangerous situation has done such a wonderful job in working with the racetrack and making sure that there's no threat this weekend as we prepare to race. But you can see, I mean, local officials have just been so supportive, and they actually, the helicopter's been coming in and filling up from the lakes here at the racetrack to go out and help treat these brush fires. So we thank everybody for the work they've done, the communication they have provided, and certainly our best wishes to everyone that's been impacted by these brush fires. Practice back underway. It's Group 2, and there's the 88 of Connor Zilic, won earlier this season. The road course in Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas. But I can't say enough about what he did last week in Las Vegas when they had the speeding penalty in the final stage, actually led some laps. That took him out of a chance to win. But he stayed in the game and ends up salvaging a top 10 finish despite the fact they got caught speeding very late.
Yeah, that's the one thing about being a rookie, and we talked about this last week in the race, is this 88 team, it's going to have speed. Like, they're going to have speed every single week. We know to all the road courses they'll be a threat to win, but it's just about minimizing mistakes that a rookie can make. And today will present really good opportunities for mistakes, having to run right up against the wall. But man, Zilich is so talented inside the car, and when he comes to an oval, I've just been really impressed with him.
He ran this race last year here at Homestead, and I ran around him a bit, but watch the line. I don't know if he'll do it a second time here. He actually chooses to go a little higher this time, but he actually ran a really interesting line of 1 and 2, which was something we saw last year, which he entered super low, shot it to the top, and then turned it back down the hill. That was really interesting to see as he learns. And last week, you know, didn't quite get the result he probably deserved in terms of the speed they had. But man, that experience he had racing around Justin Allgaier and Eric Almirola up there at 1.5 miles, and you know, talking to him before the race, he wanted to learn aero. That's his big thing to learn, is how the aero affects these cars. He had such great education last week.
Zilich racing at Miami for the 2nd time in his career. Sam Mayer trying to win here for the 2nd time. Got it done a couple of seasons ago, Kim.
Yeah, and a slow start to this practice for the 41 team. Only 6 laps on the board for Mayer. That's because his first lap out, he had a right front tire go down. My first question, as you're seeing the tire laying right there, they did come in and change it. He's back out on the racetrack. My first question was, did the tire go down and then he get into the wall, or did he get into the wall and the tire went down because of that? He does have some damage along the right side of the car. Crew Chief Jason Trincherry had the same question. He said, we're trying to figure that out now. He said, we think the tire went down first, but we're not certain. And this really hampers their plan for practice. Jason had told me this morning they wanted to do a really long run to see where the tire trend and how the balance trended through the long run. And now with only 9 minutes left in practice, they're going to figure out how this car is for Sam, one of our Dash for Cash drivers.
I feel like Kim gave us the racing version of what came first, the chicken or the egg.
That's right.
Is that kind of where you're getting at that? It, I mean, fortunately not too torn up for the 41 car, and gosh, he's won here before, and we talked to him earlier in the week. He's pumped about getting back to this track, and the fact that he's going to be one of those guys with a shot at being able to win $100,000. And Parker, when I think of him as being one of the drivers you see right there, willing to commit, risk it all, and run high.
He is. He's really good at it. He's really good at just being committed to the wall, you said, and he can get away with those little taps and that sort of thing. He has a high risk tolerance, is the best way to put it about Sam Mayer, and he does a good job of balancing that car up there. But I think, you know, last year when this track was a little different, it was a bit of a struggle in a really important race last year in the playoffs when he was trying to advance forward in the playoffs. So, you know, you can have winning weeks here, and then the next time you show up to Homestead, it can be entirely different. We'll see which one we get out of Sam. I think these Haas Factory team, though, they've just had really fast cars here the last 2 years, and so I think, you know, he can replicate what he did back in 2022.
Junior Motorsports, 4 wins here all the time. Joe Gibbs Racing has won here 5 times. Let's talk about Justin Bonsignor in the 19, making his 2nd start of the season. Also ran last year in New Hampshire, so his 3rd start overall. We saw him at Daytona. What transpired personally for him, not from a racing standpoint, what transpired personally for him between Daytona and now is unbelievable. His wife, Tay, was pregnant. She's having contractions. She said, I think it's time to go to the hospital. They live a good ways away. So he said, let's load up and go. He's driving like he's going for the checkered flag, right? I mean, he's pushing the limits. They're driving down this wooded road, and she's like, I think I'm going to have the baby. He calls 911. Her water breaks. They get to a McDonald's, and he barely gets to the passenger side, and guess what? The baby boy is here at 2:49 in the morning. It's a remarkable story, and we say congratulations to Justin and Tay and the entire family.
Oh, look at that right there.
And, hey, you noticed the car is unsponsored.
I was going to say.
He would love to have McDonald's on that car this weekend.
Yeah, he's going to run like 9 races this year. But they're just kind of funding this thing themselves. They need support. And, I mean, McDonald's would be a great choice. So maybe he and Bubba Wallace can collaborate on that. But whoever you are as a company, great driver, 4-time modified champion. And just a remarkable story to tell.
Yeah, he's as good as there is in a modified. I mean, he wins just about everywhere he goes and has put together an incredible career. And he talked about wanting a challenge. And I asked him, I'm like, well, why would you pick here? I'm like, if you only have a few races, I'm like, this is a tough track for a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience at this type tracks. And he knew that he'd have his hands full coming down here. But really talented driver, and look forward to seeing what he's able to put together today.
And you mentioned kind of, you know, how they put this together. It reminds me of Ryan Preece betting on himself, right? To get an opportunity like this in the
100%.
top car you can, pick a couple races if you can gather the funding together and go out there and see what you can make happen. And so I love when drivers do that, especially a driver like himself who's so successful down the modifieds.
You know, he's 37, and he told us, I haven't given up the dream. I would love to make it, but this is just another step for him, you know, to prove that he can do it at this level. And anyway, great to see him here. 25 cars, Harrison Burton. And I want to sing the praises of AM Racing. You know, they actually ran pretty good here in their debut season 2 years ago with Brett Moffitt. But what Harrison is doing early this year with this team is remarkable. And Danny Epplin, the crew chief, needs credit too. They work with the Haas factory team, and they're producing good results. 5 minutes to go. Group 2 practice in Miami. Just over 3 minutes to go. Practice for the Xfinity Series here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Qualifying is next on our to-do list. Sammy Smith on track is 14th, and that is perfect because he finished 14th in the last 2 races and did so last week after starting on the pole at Las Vegas, and he got that speeding penalty on that final green flag pit stop.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, just a few minutes left in this practice. I've been watching him for the last couple of laps right against the wall, and I'm thinking if I'm his crew chief, I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and come on in. Make sure we start this race with the right side looking as good as it does right now.
Well, that's such a pretty race car.
Oh, he's got just a skosh of a scuff.
That's perfect.
That's amazing.
That's when you get out and you're like, yep,
smile,
thank
laugh
you.
at that.
You're welcome, boys.
Yeah. Well, like if you play football or basketball, you don't want to get hurt, right?
Yep.
But when the game's over, you would like maybe a black eye,
just a little
or
cut.
So everyone knows you played in the game, right?
Chicks take scars.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I'll go to Kim with that. How you doing, Kim?
I'm doing good. I've got the most recent winner here at Homestead Miami Speedway, Austin Hill. And you hung up the helmet early, like 5 minutes ago. Is it safe to say you found what you needed in the car?
I don't know about that. I think our Global Industrial Chevrolet is pretty fast today. It fired off really good for our session. Was on the splitter a little bit in the fire, so I think we have some more pace there on the initial start. I moved around a little bit throughout the run just to see where the balance was at. I was actually about to start running the fence, which is not what I'm known for. And the caution came out. And when we came in, we felt pretty good about it. I'm a little tight just right across the middle. I think if I can get just that little bit of rotation right across the middle of the corner, we'll be just as fast as we were last year. So all in all, solid effort for everybody at RCR, ECR. I think our Global Industrial Chevrolet is as fast as Xfinity Mobile today. qualifying, we'll see where we stack up. We didn't qualify good here last year, and we were leading at the end of stage 1, so I'm honestly not that worried about qualifying. I think we have a good car today. Just got to do our own deal, be down there on the bottom catfishing while they're trying to figure it out up top, and hopefully it pays off for us.
You say do your own deal, but Kyle Larson's in the field. Will he end up baiting you to the high line?
I don't know. We'll see. If I'm ever leading throughout the race and he's behind me or something, and he's making up a lot of ground up top, I might have to go up there. But if I can make it work the way that I did last year, I'm just going to stay in my own zone.
That's some of the problems sometimes when you've been successful doing it one way. You want to stick with it. We'll see if it works for him. But, you know, you talked about being on the splitter. Just want to let you know that 21 team is notorious for being on the splitter to start. They're some of the most aggressive in the garage of putting that splitter as low as they can. You see it down the straightaway here. This will happen down the straightaways, and then that right side will sort of settle down the corner. The left front will pick up a little bit. And the reason you do that, especially at a place like Homestead, Miami, where you have a large amount of fall off, is that basically, once you get later in the run and you're going way slower, that splitter will naturally come up a little bit because it doesn't have as much pressure on it from going as fast. And that's what the teams are trying to balance here. If you can get away with the splitter not bothering you early on, hitting the ground, it pays dividends later in the run.
Yeah, and we've been talking about Sam Mayer, you see on your screen right now, about how he's willing to take a risk and run high. Got into the wall earlier today, and, well, he's pushing the limits here again, guys. You see getting right up against, you see that car's yawed out. Oh, not bad.
That's nice.
Not bad, yeah. I'd say he's probably going to be happy with that. He's run 23 laps now. The tires are starting to go away as you see him coming to pit road, practicing those green flag pit stops.
Qualifying is next. Practice is done. Best of the bunch from Group 1, Kyle Larson, Ty Dillon, Ryan Sieg, Anthony Alfredo, Jeremy Clements, the top 5. We'll give you the full rundown when we return. I feel like we've seen a little bit of everything in the first month plus when you talk about tracks in NASCAR. Here's what we have coming your way the rest of today. Cup practice qualifying on Prime Video, 1 p.m. Eastern time. NASCAR Countdown Live, 3:30 Eastern on CW. Then race 6 for these Xfinity cars comes your way at Payne 3. Look at this. The paint people are going to have their hands
They go
full
through a
tonight.
lot
They
at this
do.
track, for sure.
Absolutely. You want it nice and clean for the Cup race tomorrow. You're going to have some work to do. Here are your top 10. This is combining Group 1 and Group 2. Top 2 from Group 1. Ryan Sieg, the best of the bunch in Group 2.
Yeah, heavily weighted for that first group. We knew the track was probably going to be a little bit quicker, but it's going to equalize out now.
Yeah.
See what these guys have.
And one thing to note is, like, as we go into qualifying, what happened for Group 2, that's going to affect these first few cars in qualifying as well. All that rubber being on the racetrack, it just loses grip.
You know, someone I want to point out there, Matt DiBenedetto. He was in Group 2.
Great run.
Yeah, Group 1 was better than Group 2, but for that team to be up there in that situation is awesome. We'll see if he can back it up in qualifying. We have that coming your way next. Comes to qualifying, they're 4 of 5 as well. Qualifying rained out at Daytona, but Chevy has won the last 4 poles. With that, we get set to qualify here at the Homestead Miami Speedway, and we hear from one of those Chevy drivers, Dylan.
Yeah, that's Connor Zilic, who is done with practice and awaiting his attempt to qualify here. So the leaderboard doesn't always tell the story here, I feel like. What'd you feel like you had there?
Yeah, you know, this place is tough. A lot of fall off, really important how you feel in the long run. But overall, I feel like we have a really good car. You know, we've had a car as fast as XFINITY Mobile all year long. We just haven't executed as well as we should have. So hopefully we can do that this weekend and get ourselves a good finish. We need it. So yeah, just got to, you know, be there all day long, not hit the fence too hard, and hopefully by the end of the race you got a piece.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you, Dylan. The metric is what determines which group you're in for practice and when you go out and qualifying. This 24 team is not full-time. So by the metric, they're last in line, which means they are first out in qualifying. How big of a challenge is that for Corey Heim.
It's really tough because of all the rubber that just got laid down. We saw the difference between Group 1 and Group 2 in practice, and how the Group 2 is definitely slower, and that's just all this rubber gets laid down. It takes some grip out of the racetrack. And then as we go through qualifying here, when these cars come out on cold tires like this, they're going to pick all that rubber up as we go along. So this first lap for Corey Heim is probably one of the toughest. We'll see what he chooses to do here in the heat of the day. He's going to sort of be the middle to the bottom here in 1 and 2. We'll see what he chooses down in 3 and 4.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, it's not just the rubber that's laid down, but going early, you don't know where the fast line is. I mean, we're all going to have our eyes on Larson, who goes out fairly early to see, does he choose to run bottom of both ends, the top of one and the bottom of the other. I think you'll see a lot of guys run a little higher in 3 and 4 and then try to get to the bottom in 1 and 2. Traditionally, that's been a little better as it's hot and slick out. But until you see some cars run, you aren't 100% sure where to run.
You're just guessing.
Corey Heim undefeated in qualifying so far this weekend. Won the pole last night for the Craftsman Truck Series race. His lap, 34:12.
Yeah, and as we talk about the track being better for that first group of qualifying, he ran faster than that in race trim earlier today. You normally will see a half to 3/4 of a second pickup at a track like this. The track is so good for those cars that are first on the track versus how bad it is for the first guy out in qualifying.
Second driver out is Joey Gase. And we should point out 39 cars here this weekend, only 38 make the field. 32 get in on speed. So the quick math says beat 7 and you're locked in to race later today, and then we'll get into the provisionals and who qualifies on points and all that later on. But the key thing is, from a competition standpoint in qualifying, if you beat 7, you know you'll be in the show.
And that was a tough lap for Joey Gase. The front splitter was way up in the air in 3 and 4. That thing was bouncing around, and it did not look fun.
We talked about how low the 21s was. You could have thrown a cat under that one, and it would have been all right.
34.71 for Gase puts him second. And next up, Brad Perez in the 45 for Alpha Prime.
And he ran a really good lap in practice. He was 13th overall. It wasn't that first group, but looked like he was able to put together a fast lap. He chose to run the bottom of 1 and 2. You see it starts to shoot up the racetrack really early right there. I don't know that he's going to like the way that feels.
It looks weird, but it doesn't mean it's slow here. That's one thing that's so deceiving about this racetrack. You're just going to go wherever you can find grip. Now he's committed those left sides on the top seam here. That's pretty conventional. Car's wiggling around a little bit. It's so hard to get the power down on the exit. Oh, real sideways.
He lost a little bit, but he's going to be a 10th and a half quicker than our fastest before he put it on the track. Brad Perez goes just in front of Corey Heim, 33.95 for Brad.
For a guy who doesn't get to do this often, that was a hell of a committed lap.
Absolutely.
I love to see that. That was great.
Well, and you know how motivated he is because of the disappointment they experienced when he had his opportunity to race at COTA a few weeks ago. He's a road racing guy, right? And so he felt like that was his opportunity. It didn't work out. Some of that was because we were operating off of points from 2024, but a really good lap there should put him in a good spot as we look at Dawson Cram in the 74.
Yeah, and Dawson left about 50% of his rear tires in the middle of turns 1 and 2. He had like a death slide going for a long time trying to get to the bottom of 1 and 2, and you see he's now decided to run right up against the wall. Turns 4 into the wall.
He's not against it. He's into it.
He didn't lift. Actually gained about a half tenth back, maybe a 10th.
Yeah, I just think if you know your 1 and 2's that bad, don't use your car up in 3 and 4. Like now they're going to create probably a lot of work for those guys. See how hard he gets into the wall. I mean, once you get in it, you see on the exit it really starts getting compressed into that.
How good was that lap for Brad Perez? We're about to find out, because here comes Kyle Larson, and I don't know going out this early, where he's going to fall in the final rundown, but he's going to put a lap down that gives us all a baseline on what to work off of.
And I think he missed 1 and 2 right there. Maybe overdrove the entry a little bit, wasn't able to get all the way to the bottom. We'll see how much momentum he's able to carry through 3 and 4 as he just commits right there. It's so incredible in qualifying to do that.
This is where he'll make his money right now. As you go through the exit here, if he doesn't get into the wall, this will be a ginormous gain over what Brad Perez put down.
It's unbelievable just how much he gained from the middle of the back straightaway off of what Jamie said in turns 1 and 2 through 3 and 4 to the top. The lap for Larson, 33.58. He leads the way, Kim.
And we talked earlier in practice about Justin Bonsignor and his wife Taylor's unique birth story a couple weeks ago, welcoming Grayson Anthony. Now that you've been on track, what's more nerve-wracking, delivering your own child or running the wall at Miami?
They're pretty close, I'd say. Yeah, we're starting to get a little better as practice progressed there. Get more and more comfortable up against the wall in 3 and 4. Got a lot of learning to do still down at 1 and 2, but you know, at the end of the run, we were within reason of some other guys. So yeah, we got a long day ahead of us of learning as we go, but it should be a good day, and hopefully we just can put together a solid day, no mistakes, and put ourselves in position at the end.
Specifically, what did you learn that maybe the sim didn't tell you?
Just the buffer of the air in 3 and 4, and it does drive pretty similar, honestly, through 1 and 2. The car shoves the nose similar to what we're doing in the sim. So just got to build up that confidence, and you know, I don't know how good we're going to qualify, but I think in race runs as the day goes on, we'll be good, and Seth here will get us tuned up and get us in position late in the race. So going to be a long day, but I'm excited for the challenge.
Another congratulations to Justin, his wife Taylor, and big brother Evan on Grayson Anthony's win.
You know, he referenced Seth, says Chapka is the crew chief. And it was funny to me after he ran the car at Daytona, he admitted that he's become a fan. And at home, he watches like a kid, like cheering for him. And they've had a lot to cheer about. Eric Almirola, the win at Phoenix, and nearly got it done again last week. Here's Ryan Ellis. He's the 7th car out. Also want to pay off Mason Maggio, who's 5th on the board.
Yeah. We talked about how good of a run that Kyle Larson got on the Exeter Fort, and you're going to see that in a lot of these guys. If they're not ahead of Kyle as they get on the entry to turns 3 and 4, they're going to lose a lot of ground because his commitment of running the very top.
Ryan Ellis is 3rd. Talk about the baby for Justin Bonsignor. Ryan Ellis recently, he and his family had a baby as well. He's a stay-at-home dad as we ride on board. William Sawalich trying to bounce back from Las Vegas disappointment last week.
Man, watch his hands on exit here. This always gets a little loose. You saw a slight correction right there in the center, and that's what you'll do on the exit of the corner off of 2. You just balance that car on the right rear. What does he choose to do on 3?
I always liked kind of that left front on that first seam. It might not be quite as quick as what Larson was able to do, but it's way more comfortable, and I think I can put together a solid lap. And the one thing we've seen here is that qualifying is not everything, but look at that. Man, really good lap.
When the car's good, you just go where it's good.
Yeah. Made his career debut last fall here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Did William Sawalich, in a great effort in qualifying P1 33.45.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that his lap time was 1 and 2, right? Like Larson missed the bottom of 1 and 2, didn't have a good turn there. Sawalich was able to put that all together.
5th start of the season for Garrett Smithley.
We're working in here. Whoa!
Gosh, he's really working at it. And the corners are so long here. You think you have it, and you're like, I still don't have it.
Still going. Still going. Still in the corner. Oh, and if it did that down in 1 and 2, the exit of 4 here is going to be super treacherous for Garrett.
He's going to be tired by the time this qualifying lap's over. Yeah, look at that.
Carpal tunnel, right? I mean, he's going to need surgery on his forearms or something. He's hanging on to that thing.
Yeah.
And he's 9th of 9.
Yeah,
Man,
he didn't like that.
We got some work to do on that race car.
That did not feel good at all.
That was what we'd say is out of the racetrack.
Like wrestling a bear there as he came off the corner. Leland Honeyman Jr. is out in the 70. Cope Family Racing making their first journey into Xfinity. First time we've seen Derek around the garage in a while, but it was great to visit with him earlier this year. I think it was Atlanta. We ran into him and talked to us about how they're going to manage things in 2025. They produced some good results, including Honeyman getting that top 10 run at Atlanta.
Hear him able to get back to the throttle right there fairly aggressively, but just not able to carry the momentum. That car's dancing around on exit to go across those seams. He gets even more out from underneath you.
Honeyman is 6th of the 10 cars that have made a qualifying run here at Miami. 4th of the way through the session. There's Myatt Snyder trying to put it in the show, maybe win again. Jeremy Clements liked his car in practice. He's coming up, and so is Anthony Alfredo.
car that is not there, one car back in the garage. The 20 car of Brandon Jones just checked in with the team. They noticed an oil leak during practice, so this team now going to work thrashing, trying to correct that issue. Crew Chief Sam McCauley right now giving directives to his team as we have more qualifying happening on the speedway.
Hey, it's all good, Kim. You don't make a qualifying run. You make the mechanical change. You drop to the rear. It works out great. It did last week for Brandon Jones, who was
did that
sixth.
same thing.
So why not? I mean, I say there's really nothing wrong with the car.
That's
It's
because you
just
don't
a
have to start
strategy
back
play.
in the back. That's right. Yeah.
You also will have one less lap on your tires.
Well,
Which doesn't sound like a lot,
Oh, it
but it is
matters.
here. It's big here.
That's a really good point. Myatt Snyder in the 91. Great to see him competing this weekend. Driving for DGM, Mario Goslin, Jesse Awuji, and their merger that was announced just before we started the season at Daytona.
Yeah, and he committed to getting to the white line. And as soon as he got down there, you saw the car get out from underneath him, and that makes for such a long exit at this racetrack.
The car sort of hopped around towards the exit there as he exit out of turn 2 in the rear, and that just sort of unsettles everything, and you can't commit back the throttle. And now, once it's done that 1 and 2, he was pretty conservative, 3 and 4. Let's see where this ends up. 5th.
Not bad for Myatt Snyder.
Yeah, good little pickup from practice for him. We've seen a lot of guys actually lose time from practice, so yeah, nice pickup for
For how much that was moving around in 1 and 2,
Yeah.
I think that was a solid lap.
You know, we talk about his win here, but I go to when he was driving for Jordan Anderson Racing, and Jamie, I think you and I were doing this race together. He nearly won on the road course at Portland. Remember?
He did, yes, I do remember that, yeah.
You know, some cautions that just came at the wrong times that impacted how that race finished. But it was a race in the rain, and they had to manage a lot of different things that day, and he just did an awesome job.
Well, and again, I don't think you can emphasize enough how hard it is to just come in here and be a part-time driver. And a little different than like Justin Bonsignor, who we talked about doing part-time Xfinity. He still races every single weekend. Myatt's not getting to race like some of these other guys, so that's a really huge challenge for him.
Well, Myatt's doing work on the
Yeah,
TV
I was
side.
gonna say, he's been a pit spotter for his dad.
Yeah, it's
times.
great that he stayed connected. And gosh, we've known him forever because of Marty and all the time he's been around. Chris Wright goes out. He is 11th of the 12 drivers that have made a run, Dylan.
And Carson Quaffle is about ready to climb aboard the Junior Motorsports #1 car. So working up to speed here in practice, feeling it out. What's challenging about this racetrack so far?
Yeah, this place is pretty tough, honestly. I mean, never being here and stuff like that makes it kind of tough, right? You only get a few laps of practice, but I think with this car that these guys brought, I think it's going to be as fast as Xfinity Mobile, honestly. Just feel like it's a little bit of a learning curve, getting me up to speed for the first few laps. Kind of felt like our Bass Pro Shops Clearance Technology Chevrolet was good, but it was just a little tough for me to get up to speed right away. And once we got into a run, our car was pretty fast, but just can't thank Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops, Clearance, Junior Motorsports, everyone on this crew, and hopefully we can have a pretty good qualifying effort here today, and later in the day we can kind of go up there and try to get towards the front.
Thanks, Carson.
Well, tremendous job getting all that worked in. Great job with all the sponsors and the owners. But I think about how hard it's got to be to come to a place like this. And I as he was doing his interview, I was trying to put myself in his position and how hard it would be to get one set of tires, 25 minutes. And I don't care how much sim you do, it's really hard to emulate what happens at this racetrack. And he's trying to take all that in, talk to his teammates, now put new tires on and go back out and try to run your fastest lap of the weekend.
And a great 1 and 2 here for Blaine Perkins. He was just a little bit off of William Sawalich. We'll see what he's able to gather up here in 3 and 4, but I think this is going to be a strong lap for Blaine Perkins in the 31 car.
About a 10th off the quickest, and that puts him to 2nd. There you see it jumps up to P2 behind Sawalich, I should say, 33.57. And we need to also go back and pay off Patrick Emmerling, made his qualifying run when Dylan was talking to Carson. He's back there in the 8th spot, driving the 07 for SS Greenlight Racing and Bobby Dodder. Here's the 11. Ty Dillon going to qualify the car. Josh Williams going to start it later. Josh Dillon with those health issues and pneumonia. And look at this. I mean, this car was great in practice and flashing the green coming off of turn 2 here.
Really good coming to the green. Like great job through 3 and 4 coming to the green. And that would make me feel good now as I run back into 3 and 4, knowing the line I ran, what that felt like. And look, he's putting it all together right here. Is he going to be able to get a good enough exit off of turn 4?
Oh, it got sideways.
It's going to be really, really close for Ty Dillon.
Really
hey,
with him. It's enough. All the way to the top. He hangs on. 33.44.
Josh Williams is feeling better by the second.
Yes, he is. Hey, but you know what I would say, and we didn't talk about this earlier. We have to give a lot of credit to Josh because before he got sick, was off to the best start of his career. 4 consecutive top 20s. Yep. He was 12th at Phoenix, and you're like, man, they're hitting the sweet spot. 12th despite the fact that he's ill. And then everything that transpired last week and now this week. So we have to celebrate his success as we check in on the 4. This is Parker Retzlaff.
Yeah, Parker had it sideways in turns 1 and 2, but stayed in the throttle and is putting together a pretty decent lap. Looks like he backed up that entry a little bit on the entry to 3 and 4, and look at that, gets back to the throttle. Very similar to like a Larson type lap with a nice exit off of turn 4.
His ego is going to go through the roof because you compared him to Kyle Larson.
Well, that's what it looked like. Yeah.
He's going to clip that. That will be on Instagram later today.
Retzlaff is 5th, 33.591 for him. 51 is Jeremy Clements. We saw him earlier, and we said it. Felt really good about his race car in practice.
He did, and this is the type of place, you know, we talk about all the experience he has. This is the type of place where Jeremy Clements is able to get outsized finishes for maybe where that team normally runs. When the tires fall off, you can use the wall. He's just a smart race car driver, so much experience. He can kind of navigate that car into a position that maybe it would be better than if it should be speed-wise, and now goes pretty conservative down in 3 and 4, going below that top seam, and now it's going to slide all the way up.
Well, then when you
lose a ton of time.
Yeah, when you pitch that entry off a little bit like you saw kind of referencing those seams, he was a little bit low. You make up a little time on entry to the middle, but you just get crushed on exit as you saw it get out from underneath him.
Clements is 6th, Kim.
And Harrison Burton, a former winner here at Homestead Miami Speedway, had solid speed in practice. In a perfect world, what does your qualifying lap look like here?
Yeah, for me, you know, you want to run the bottom in 1 and 2, but you have to enter with so much speed, and if you're going to miss it, you can miss it aggressive and kind of miss the line a little bit, and then 3 and 4, it's kind of up in the air, right? I think I'm going to run a little bit lower. I saw Larson ran pretty high. I just think you have to get so aggressive on entry through 3 and 4. It's hard to qualify on the fence, so I don't know. I'm excited. Hopefully I can put a good one together. We had a really fast Dex Imaging Ford Mustang, and especially in the long run, I felt really good up against the wall. I was really comfortable up there. Hopefully we'll be as fast as XFINITY Mobile in this qualifying session and have an easier day by starting up front and going from there.
I like the fact that he felt good about their car over the long haul. In practice, he was 8th quick. You saw Brennan Poole.
Check this out.
He's going for it right here. Yeah, this felt good inside the car, I guarantee you.
He was under a 10th off of Ty Dillon there, but lost about another half a tenth with that big slide. The car was bouncing around the rear, but he never lifted. Good lap.
As Alfredo hits the track, I remind you that you have to beat 7 to lock yourself in. 39 cars here, 32 make it on speed. 1 will go home. So if you're in the top 11 right now, you will race later today, and we'll continue to move that line as drivers try to be in front of 7, so they, oh, Anthony, my goodness, hang on.
Yeah, he was 4th in practice. He's going to end up 8th right now. Lost a little bit of time down in 3 and 4. I thought he had actually a really good 1 and 2 going. It just let that car started to lose grip as the run went on.
Might be a little disappointed in the outcome of that lap.
Probably, yeah.
You know, we talk about Myatt Snyder here, driving for RCR, getting the win. Anthony Alfredo got his first career top 5 at the Homestead Miami Speedway a handful of years ago when he was driving for Richard Childress Racing. Here's Jeb Burton, 27, another one of those cars that was in Group 1 practice and put up a really fast lap.
A really good exit of turn 2 right there. You see only about a half a tenth off of the pole run, and the car looks underneath him too. Like, I don't see it sliding around quite as much as we saw with Alfredo and Brennan Poole, and he's splitting that seam. Looks really, really solid right there. Gonna have enough room on exit. Lost a little bit of ground there.
Yeah, he had to pitch it off a little bit on the exit there. He got to the throttle, tried to stay with it, and the car just couldn't take it. Had to back it up a little bit on the exit, ends up 8th.
Halfway home in qualifying here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Ty Dillon, Sawalich, Perkins, Larson. he is racing at the higher levels of NASCAR.
These photos are from last summer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
This is what year it was. I guess it was last year.
That's when he was a truck rookie a couple of years ago, right?
That's right.
Got a piece of one of those trucks, actually.
What about that?
Take home. Big deal
That's
Junior
cool.
fan.
Lots of talent, though, and with a good organization. I mean, Parker, you know all about Big Machine and what their accomplishments are. He did win a pole here in the Truck Series, and one of his Truck Series wins on 1.5 miles. So you feel like he's got an opportunity. You can see down at the bottom, though, his results this season, a mixed bag and what you would expect from a rookie contender.
And last year here in the trucks, he was actually going to have a top 3 finish with an issue on the last lap, but this is a good 1 and 2 for Nick.
Well, he committed.
Oh, yeah.
Big commitment on the entry, slid up. It looked like he was going to lose some time. But look at that. He's got a 1/10.5 in the bank as he heads into turns 3 and 4. Going to choose to split that seam again. The car looks really underneath him, continuing to gain ground. Really great lap by Nick Sanchez here.
Excellent lap. That was really committed in the car.
Hell of a job. Hell of a job. 33-17.
Plenty of green.
Huge pickup from practice, too. 6/10 pickup from what he ran in practice. So big pickup for Sanchez there. I bet that felt good. I bet inside that's one of the laps that you're like, oh,
nailed it.
Just got to put this all together. I got it.
Had Corey Heim earlier in the qualifying session. Here is his teammate, another rookie driver, in Dean Thompson. Sam Hunt Racing was really successful here 2 years ago until a late crash. Kaz Gralla was driving the 26. And looking back at old races, that was something that really jumped out to me.
Yeah, and this is still a really good lap. I know it looks like it's 3/10 off, but if he'd run before Nick Sanchez, he'd be first right now. So still a really good lap Dean Thompson's is putting together. Almost wonder if the track, we talk about it cleaning up a little bit as it kind of hit that point right now that the grip is there.
He has experience here in the Truck Series. That lap puts him 10th on the board. Thompson coming off a top 15 finish last week on the 1.5 miles at Las Vegas. And here's someone I'm really curious about. We talked about him top 10 in practice, but he went out in Group 2. Matt DiBenedetto had some speed in that 99.
Really did. They got a new paint scheme this week. It's gray instead of white there, that Viking Motorsports scheme. I think it looks pretty stealthy, maybe stealthy fast.
Yeah, it did a good job, kind of easy in right there. Was able to exit with some good momentum. About a 10th off, heading down. Just that car splitter bottoming out, going down the straightaway. Not a big deal at all. Looks nice and stable though. Just looks to me like he wasn't able to attack the entry of the corner as hard as what he needed. You see him gain a good exit speed, but just gave up a little bit on the entry to both ends.
Still gonna be P2.
Yeah, great lap.
Really good lap. You're 2/10 off, but that's good enough to get you to second on the board. Kim?
We talked about Sam Mayer's hiccup in practice, had a tire go down. How much were you able to learn in that shortened practice for you and the team?
Yeah, I mean, props to these guys on House Factory. They worked their tails off to make sure everything was right for when we went back out on the racetrack. But yeah, just a little mistake for me, circumstances, whatever you want to call it. But I know this car is as fast as XFINITY mobile. These guys did a really good job getting it ready to go out on the racetrack again. Set a couple fast laps down and had pretty decent long run speed. So I'm pretty excited about tonight. I think we're gonna be pretty good, but we just gotta survive qualifying now.
Sam Mayer, one of our Dash for Cash drivers this weekend.
He's saying, show me the money. And Kyle Sieg has been saying, show my results, and we did. I mean, he's qualifying not too bad, but the racing the last couple of weeks has been really, really good for Kyle in that 28. 14th right now.
Well, Carson Quapple talked about trying to learn this racetrack, and I'm telling you, it's one of the hardest things you're going to do is to go from running 35, 36-second lap times to have to pick up 3 seconds when it comes time to qualify. You see he's done a nice job through turns 1 and 2. Gets really close to the wall on exit. Going to lose a little speed down the backstretch, but I'm going to say overall he feels pretty good inside the car. What he's got right here, you see all of these guys, they've been watching the same thing that you're watching right now, the lines that they're running. Carson did a nice job committing to the entry right there. The car slid up a little bit in the middle, but a pretty decent exit. Going to end up 5th overall right now at 33.45. Huge pickup for him from practice.
Massive. And it shows you just the learning curve and how quickly he picks it up and able to put a lap like that together after all that you mentioned when you slow down in practice and everything, and you just have to sort of go out there and guess where the grip level is.
This is like the rookie segment, right? We had Dean Thompson, we had Nick Sanchez, we had Carson Quapple, now Taylor Gray. And you look at the bottom line, you saw those top 10 finishes, already more top, or as many top 10s this year as he had running part-time last year when he had 13 starts, and so far so good with a lap in the green as he heads to turn 3.
Use all the racetrack on the exit at turn 2 there. We'll see how this works in 3 and 4. Up right now, committed on the entry.
Yeah, car looks really nice and stable inside. Very similar to Nick Sanchez's lap time that he is getting ready to beat right there. P1 at 33.06.
The scuff on the wall in practice simply a badge of courage because he's now leading the way in qualifying Taylor Gray.
Yeah, and Parker, the one thing that I've noticed about these guys that are running fast laps right now is you're seeing right here, Daniel Dye spinning out in practice. We talk about having to go out and do qualifying after having that spin. That's so hard to do. But they're all driving into turn 1, like overdriving the entry and just committing to slide way up the racetrack early, not like wrapping the line like we've traditionally seen here.
And that lap by Taylor Gray was actually a little bit faster than the pole lap by Chandler Smith last year, which was done sort of in the evening time. So that is a super fast lap.
Dye not where he wants to be.
No, that's hard.
No,
to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is extra disappointing though, because you think about what could have been when you see what the 11 put on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
well, your teammates. That's what you compare yourself to every single week.
Yeah, Dye down there in 19th. Dylan?
We're going to grab Jesse Love real quick while he gets buckled into the 2 cars. So you've been sitting here watching these guys go out as you're towards the end of qualifying. What do you think you're going to have to do for your lap?
I think I'm going to run the top of the there. So, I think our car is pretty good. Got a little bit of work to do. At the same time, there's a lot of stuff people are doing in practice I don't think it's going to work in the race. So I'm just trying to stay committed to my game plan all weekend long. Even though it might not look pretty now, I think it's going to work out in the end.
All right, they got a plan. Jesse's going to stay committed to it as he says. We'll see what he's got in qualifying.
Did he say the top of those?
Yeah, he did. You know what I love? The in-the-car interview, like the late 90s right there. In the car, strapping in, get the microphone in your face. I like that.
I mean, we talk about Colic, right? And Ty Dillon's up there. We said, you know, Dye not where he wanted to be because of the lack of practice. But look at Eckes up there in 3rd. Really good effort for him.
Yeah, both those Colic cars really good. 3rd and 5th right now.
Sammy Smith on the pole last week. 4 consecutive top 15 finishes. He was 14th in practice, and I hope for his sake he doesn't qualify 14th. The expectation's much higher for number 8.
Yeah, he has that similar line, drove into one really hard, sliding up the racetrack, but just didn't look to me like that car was able to stick like we've seen Taylor Gray or Sanchez be able to do earlier. Little shallower entry into that. As you see, he's going to slide up.
And you do that sometimes with what you felt the car doing 1 and 2. You just sort of hedge your bet a little bit in 3, which he did. Ends up in the top 10 here. But you sort of hedge just thinking, I don't have the confidence this thing's going to stick. I can't leave it too high up there. Give yourself a little leeway to get to the wall if it gets a little loose.
Those Junior Motorsports cars together, the 2 that have gone, Quapple is 7th, Sandy Smith is 8th. Harrison Burton in the 25. Praise the long run stability of his race car in practice. We'll see how he does here in qualifying. 8th on the board is where he ended up in that 25-minute session a little bit ago.
He was worried about overdriving in his interview earlier. He backed it up and gained some on the exit there, just not enough.
Yeah, it was like he gained right through the middle, but then lost a little bit on the exit down through the back stretch. You see right here, kind of a similar line right there in 3 and 4 that we've seen all day long. Car moving around just a little bit on him. Still 6th overall. I'd say Harris would be pretty happy with what he's got right there.
He's the best of the Fords, but some of their quicker cars have not gone yet. And here's one that always has high expectations. Cole Custer driving this 00 last year. Qualified up front, spent a lot of time racing with the leaders. Now it's Sheldon Creed in the 00 trying to collect his first career victory.
And if you think Kyle Larson's, the best at running the wall, probably 2nd best in this field would be Sheldon Creed, in my opinion. He's amazing at it. Doesn't choose to use that here in qualifying right now. Uses the line everyone else is using. Good exit off of turn 2.
Yeah, really good exit. And even if this car doesn't qualify well, he was really good on the 15-lap average, right with Kyle Larson, as you mentioned, but he was also really committed to running that higher line. So you see a little shallower entry into 3 and 4, but it just seemed to me like he got off of both of those corners better than expected for as low as he was running.
4th for Creed. He's now the best from the Ford camp, and I'll put an asterisk on all this qualifying because The last two winners here, Austin Hill was 16th last season at the start of the race. 2 years ago, Sam Mayer qualified 13th, won the race. I mean, at the end of the day, and this is what you said about Creed, Jamie, you've got to be able to get it done, in particular in that last stage over the long haul. Here's a guy that's already got a pole this year, but he did that on a road course. Pretty good start to the lap for Connor Zilisch.
Yeah, great 3 and 4, like coming to the green. As soon as he passed the start-finish line, you saw he was in the green on the bottom right of your screen. He's getting great exits. You see commit to driving in super deep. A little bit of a shallow entry, splitting that seam. Seems like that's right where he wanted to be. Didn't see the cars slide up. Really solid lap right here by Zilisch. Second overall, 33.14.
79 thousandths off the fast lap of Taylor Gray, and the best from Junior Motorsports. Now another Ford, Ryan Sieg. He was the best in practice of Group 2 earlier today.
That gives you a lot of confidence. You've seen the grip level the track has. You've seen the lap times people are able to do. That gives you an idea of how much speed to carry into both sides. We'll see what he does down here in 1 and 2. Choosing to keep it a little lower than we've seen others and getting a great run off of 2.
Wow, really good exit for as low as he ran all the way around. Car looks super solid. See what lane he chooses to. He's gonna split the seam just a little bit. Oh, no! He gets too loose on the entry.
The right rear got on the seam. He chose to go below it, and it got on the seam and just got that car loose. Lost about more than a 10.5. Oh.
Yeah, he's gonna be disappointed because he had such a good 1 and 2. You're like, all right, all I gotta do is put this together on the other end. I'm gonna be in good shape. Still a good lap, though.
He's going to start in the top 10. If you had asked him before, would you take it, he probably would have said yes until, as you said, this happened to him when he was in the green.
It was right when that right rear crosses over the seam and gets on there. it doesn't have the same grip level as the asphalt, and that just lets the rear get away from you, and then you just can't commit back to throttle.
Top 7 different organizations. And one of the drivers up there, Sheldon Creed, driving for Haas Factory. Here is his teammate, 41, Sam Mayer, in the red, but he's got a good lap going.
Boy, he does. He drove in really hard into turn 3, right up against the wall. It's a great lap for him. Had to check up, though. Look at the time he lost there from the exit of 4 to the start-finish line.
Fastest forward is Sam Mayer. He is 5th, and we have only 4 cars to go because, remember, Brandon Jones not going to make a qualifying lap. So 4 to go. First of those, Austin Hill, last year's winner, and I said it just a second ago. When he won this race last year, he started in the 16th position. Where will the 21 qualify today?
Oh, definitely lost the front a little bit there as he got down the corner. Remember where he talked about being on the splitter early in practice on low air pressure. Pretty much looked similar right there as the front tire took off as he got loaded up in the center of the corner. Going to choose to go to the bottom first. We've seen do this down 3 and 4.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to pay a huge penalty for that on exit. You saw the car get loose on entry. And boy, when you're losing ground in the middle and you're on the bottom, you're going to lose a ton of ground on the exit. As you see, Austin's going to be a little bit disappointed in that lap. He's 18th right now.
Well, he's going to have to do the same work he did last year.
Or more. Yeah, that's right.
Austin highlighted in green, as is Sam Mayer, because they're 2 of the 4 drivers eligible for the Dash for Cash. And we'll highlight Jesse Love in that same regard because he, too, is going for the $100,000. The first of 3 drivers remaining, and someone trying to break up the top 4. Right now, our top 4 are all rookies in qualifying.
And he fibbed. He said he was going to run the top of both ends.
Lied to us.
He was nowhere near the top in turn 22, but he's got tremendous lap going, commits to the bottom just like we saw with his teammate. I think if he could have seen the film of what we saw just now of Austin Hill, he would not have committed to doing that. As you see, going to pay a huge penalty on the exit of 4.
Hill is 18th, and his teammate goes right there with him. 1,000th of a second separating the teammates at RCR there outside the top 15.
And there's a couple reasons that hasn't worked. In the last few years, we've seen cars try to do that. The rubber doesn't get picked up off the bottom from practice.
It is now.
Yeah,
here it is.
They're trying to make it happen, but it just doesn't work down in 3 and 4 for every reason.
Justin Bonsignor, 2 to go. Driving the 19, won earlier this season with boys doing a dance.
It's still getting out from underneath him, but look at the tracker on the bottom. He's still there. He never checked up out of the gas. What a lap he's got going here.
Said he came here because he wanted to.
Well, he's committed, I can tell you that.
He
look
is
at that.
all
still
in.
there. Well, I'm gonna tell you, he got his money's worth out of that lap. Yeah, he's gonna feel good about what he did inside the car. They just need to tighten the thing up a little bit for him.
He's 6. Yeah, he's won 4 modified championships. In 20 years, he's gonna be telling people, what about that qualifying lap I had at Miami?
I heard him say, "Woo!" We said the same thing in here.
Thank you for wearing white gloves. Final car out in qualifying, Justin Allgaier. His teammate could be a gauge. Connor Zilic currently second to Taylor Gray.
Yeah, Justin, wow. He almost gave up a little bit, committed to get to the white line through 1 and 2, and you see that tracker in a really good position here, but what does he choose to do? We know if he saw Hill and Love, he's not going to run the bottom.
It's going to be a really good lap, but not enough to jump up to the pole position. Allgaier comes back and ends up 4th. Congratulations, it's Taylor Gray who leads him to the green later on today, his first career pole, and the 3rd driver to win his first career pole right here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. What about it, Dylan?
Now let's get his thoughts on it. So qualifying here, there's a lot of different options and things you can do. I listened on your radio in practice. I knew you weren't thrilled with the balance, so did you get it better, or did you just kind of go where you had to go to get a good lap there?
Yeah, I feel like, all my Joe Gibbs Racing guys have worked really hard today. I kind of put us in a little bit of a tough spot. I tried to run the Larson lineup here and got myself right-sided it, so had to do a little bit of work, but I feel like we're getting our GR Super better. So just got to stay consistent today, stay patient, take care of the right side, and I think we'll be there at the end. I feel like we have a really good Operation Center GR Supra, as fast as XFINITY Mobile, so just have to stay patient, like I said, and continue to keep up with the racetrack and keep up with the tire.
In addition to those things, everybody obviously has the 17 car of Larson circled as the guy to beat today. Is he the guy to beat, do you feel like, and how do you beat him?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he is, right? I mean, he's so good at this place. He's always been really good at this place, and just running the fence, running the max fence, and making minimal mistakes. So I think, trying to keep him behind me. He's so good at making speed, so just keeping him in my dirty area and trying to keep him behind me and protecting his favorited line as much as possible is going to be key.
You mentioned getting into the wall a little bit. Obviously, you kind of have to find the limit by doing that. So where is the line? How do you judge kind of getting into the wall and finding where you have to be when you run the top like that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot off sound and kind of judgment on where you place your car and kind of how your car's driving. So it's a lot off field too. So just have to be patient and again, protect the right side.
All right, Taylor Gray on the pole. He's going to lead us to green today at Homestead, Kim.
And Dylan on the outside pole, Connor Zilic. Nice lap there, but 1 lap's different than 200. So what will you have later for the race?
Yeah, 200 laps here is way different. So yeah, I'm excited to see what our WeatherTech Chevrolet can do on the long run. Obviously as fast as XFINITY Mobile in qualifying, but here at Homestead that doesn't mean too much. So we got to work on it all day, stay up front. Thankfully we've got a good spot to start from, but this is a long race and a lot of slipping and sliding. So got to keep it in one piece and be there at the end.
This was a race you ran last year. You finished 12th. What were you able to add to your notebook that might help you this afternoon?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just how the run kind of plays and how to run the fence, honestly. It's a very tough skill that, guys like Larson who've been doing this for pretty long figure out, and, he's going to be tough to beat today. So I think to win, you're going to have to be good up there, and I've definitely got some work to do to be as good as those guys, but at least I'll hopefully be able to see them for a little bit and maybe learn a thing or two.
An all-rookie front row here at Homestead Miami Speedway.
The youth movement is real. 4 rookies inside the top 5, Kim, so it goes beyond what happened there on the front row. And 2 rookies talking here. You got Zilic and Sanchez. Outstanding qualifying session. We got more reaction coming up from Miami. This is a tough racetrack, and when you win here, you know that you've earned it. 300 miles separates all these drivers from a checkered flag as we anticipate going green later this afternoon on the CW. How about this little history? For the first time ever, 4 of the top 5 in qualifying in an Xfinity race, all Rookie of the Year contenders.
Whoa.
Among them,
I feel like Larry McReynolds.
that hurts. That hurts.
Did you
among
those
them.
stats yourself?
Someone
That's
help me with that.
Okay.
Leave me alone. You two go take a break, would you? Let's go to Kim Sanchez up there.
Yeah, and for Miami native, Nick Sanchez had the provisional pole there for a little bit, ultimately settled for the 3rd starting position. What more did you need in your qualifying lap?
Yeah, I would really need to go back at SMT and look, but I'm really proud of everyone in this number 48 Big Machine Vodka Spike Cooler Chevrolet. I think we're close to being as fast as Xfinity Mobile, but yeah, we'll need to see what happens in the race. But I think we had a really good practice. I'm really happy with it in the long run. A couple adjustments maybe needed, but yeah, good track position in 3rd, so I'm pretty happy with that.
I mentioned Miami native earlier in our show, and I think we're going to show him again. We have some throwback photos of you visiting this racetrack. How old are you in these photos, and would you have ever dreamed at that time that you would be racing at this speedway?
Yeah, I'm assuming I was probably 9, 10 in those photos. Yeah, I was way back when my mom definitely threw me under the bus, but yeah, it's a dream come true. Never in a million years would I have thought I would have been racing here.
What do you remember about that first visit here?
Kyle Busch caught on fire, and last year I got to drive alongside him as a teammate, so that's pretty cool.
Very cool. We'll have to see what Nick's able to do later in the afternoon, Dylan.
Well, Justin Bonsignor qualified 7th, but of all the entertaining qualifying runs we saw today, I think Justin's may have been the most spectacular for sure. So you just told me you were nervous before this qualifying run, weren't great in practice. Where do you feel like you gained the most on it in qualifying?
You know, obviously the first lap off the truck was not very good for me, just learning the racetrack. So, you know, just how deep you're going to drive the car and qualifying. I have not qualified this car yet. It's rained every time I've run the car. So, really a lot of unknowns there, but Eric Amarola told me in the simulator the other day, he's like, you're going to have a lot of grip and just drive it as hard as you can. And it was good through 1 and 2, got on a splitter a little bit and kind of just kept my foot in it and drove it up the hill. Gave up a lot, I feel, down into 3. I was a little too timid there. So, all in all, good lap. Car's as fast as Xfinity Mobile. Drivers got to get there a little bit. I delivered my baby as fast as Xfinity Mobile. I told my wife I was going to get that one in. We've been joking at the house every weekend about that one. But, yeah, really good car. We're looking forward to a good day. We have some track position now. Got a really good group behind me. They've been fast each and every week, and hopefully we can learn while we're around these good cars and just keep ourselves in position all day, make no mistakes, and I think we can have a good shot to run in the top 5.
We just saw the replay of your run, and obviously you did have your hands full, but what does that feel like in the car when you're just trying to push and go as hard as you can, but you know the thing isn't stuck like you maybe need it to or want it to?
Yeah, I haven't seen the replay. I wasn't watching, but everybody here said it was pretty wild off of 2 with the white gloves, but just seemed like a normal race car, you know, in qualifying mode. So as good as I did on that end of the racetrack, I really feel disappointed in myself on how much I gave up into 3. So we got 200 laps, I guess, today to learn, and just looking forward to it, and just want to put a good day together and have a good finish. We've been really strong in both of our attempts so far, but just haven't gotten any finishes to show for it. So that's most important today is to have a good run and have a solid day for the group.
On a personal level, how is everybody doing at home?
Everybody's doing well. My wife and the kids are doing great. My mother-in-law has been there since yeah. Obviously, that's an amazing photo my wife had done. Really, really cool. I sent that over to you guys the other day, but I was a little choked up looking at it. It's really cool. But yeah, everybody's doing well. We're just lacking a little sleep. I've been catching up on it while I'm gone. My wife probably doesn't want to hear that, but yeah, I just want to thank my mother-in-law for being there to help out, and yeah, looking forward to getting home to them tomorrow.
Well done. Good luck today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bit of advice for a veteran dad. Say good things about your mother-in-law, great things about your wife. Never admit that you're getting more sleep on the road than they are at home. We got more reaction to qualifying when we come back to the Homestead Miami Speedway. Qualifying complete for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Taylor Gray started top 10 every race this year. Today, he's the man in charge.
Yeah, just looking at this first page, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Adam, but 4 of those first 5 are rookies. The first time in Xfinity Series history that has happened.
Can we mute Jamie's mic,
Is that
please?
the first time we've gotten a stat twice in a row? Hey, excellent qualifying by Ty Dillon, just hopping down here in the Xfinity Series to help out Josh Williams at 11 team. Harrison Burton there on the outside of row 6. Really good. And then you've got the start of back in row 10, the RCR cars. Jesse Love, both of them tried to go to the bottom. It did not work.
Austin Hill, there's Jesse Love's teammate you mentioned trying to run the bottom, but one here last year. It'd be fun to watch him come from back. I like the fact that we've got a little bit of a mix, though, because that's going to be fun in the race. You mentioned Brad Perez right there. You see outside of row 13. Doesn't get to race with us every week, so look forward to seeing him out there. And Myatt Snyder, former winner right there, inside of row 15.
Let me look at our final page. Corey Himes gonna have some work to do. Went out first car on track. Obviously, the grip wasn't there. Didn't have a really great speed in practice either, so it'll be interesting to watch if they can turn that around for Sam Hunt Racing. And Brandon Jones didn't get to make a lap.
New tires, though.
He's got one less lap on his tires.
That's
Watch
right.
that 20 car coming through the field.
And Dawson Cram did fail to qualify, the only driver that misses out today. Taylor Gray wins the pole, goes to debrief with his crew chief. What's going on here, fellas?
Just a little loose.
Yep.
As soon as I
Now
get to the throttle, I looked up at the scoreboard and I saw it was first.
And it took off.
That's right.
Now we're in a different corner. Oh, it wanted to take off on the front end, but it didn't.
I want to pay this off, too. Kyle Larson has won 15 times in an Xfinity car. He's never qualified outside the top 10 in all of those wins. Today, he starts 17.
You think it changes today? I think there's a good shot.
He's going to be there.
He is going to be there. Can he survive, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what about numerology? 17 car in 17.
In 2025.
And
22nd, no, that doesn't work.
They finished second twice this year with that car. William Byron at COTA.
So you feel like he might make it
Alex
3 seconds in a row?
That could be. Maybe, yeah.
I would put a serious bet on he will be a factor.
He will be a factor.
We're going to talk about it 200%.
Okay, it's their time.
3:30 Eastern Time. It's NASCAR Countdown Live on CW. Round 6 comes your way at 4. We can't wait for it. One of the best tracks on the circuit, the Homestead Miami Speedway, with Kim and Dylan and Parker and Jamie. I'm Adam. Thank you for watching.